Welcome back to another episode of Antique Overland. As many of you know, we just got back from our first camping trip of the year. We tested out some new gear from Logsdon & Co. and Vico Expedition Outfitters, as well as some new-to-us original period gear that we found scouring junk sales, flea markets, swap meets, and the like. But sometimes you find something that surprises you. And while I fully intended to do a video on the trip, I found my focus redirected by an unexpected find. I love canteens, probably because they're cheap out here and ridiculously useful. There's in fact a moratorium on my purchasing canteens at this point. I picked up what was probably my favorite BOYCO about 2 years ago and have used it on almost every outdoor adventure we've taken. The strap has long failed and the gray cover has been hanging on by threads, both results of degradation that predated my purchasing it. The cover finally got so bad that I made the tough decision to remove it, and I found something unexpected underneath. A government-marked cover. While this canteen won't be tagging along on any new adventures, it got me thinking a little more about BOYCO and its canteens. So let's have a look into its history. BOYCO's history is just about as convoluted as all the other stories we've looked at so far, so bear with us as we dig into the California company just a little further. What began as a legacy corporation, incorporated in 1910 as Boyle Manufacturing, became Boyle Dayton by 1919. They were later purchased by Wayne Company, another oil pump company. They made Boyle Dayton a division within a larger corporation. All three of these corporations specialized in gas storage tanks, curbside fuel tanks, grease machines, oil dispensers, and the like, focusing heavily on the automotive-related industry, but venturing into trash cans and markets full of galvanized ware. In fact, they all later became subsidiaries of U.S. Steel. Not surprising, considering the amount of galvanized steel their products were consuming. That's where our easily recognized metal products come in. While we're used to making BOYCO a household name in outdoor products, especially running board canteens and drinking vessels, Willis J. Boyle, receiver of the Los Angeles Iron and Steel Warehouse Company, ultimately provided far more to his customers, from the machinery used in the mining industry to pipe setting. But for that, we need to go even further back to the origin of Boyle's company, and the incorporation of the Los Angeles Iron and Steel Warehouse Company in 1895, but organized in 1893. This finally brings the timeline for our canteen into perspective. I know they're listed online as being produced from the 1870s to 1890s, but I don't know that I agree with that. Getting them back before the 1890s, per the corporation's various timeline, has been difficult. If you know more about these government-marked BOYCOs, let me know in the comments. I'd love to know more about their specific history, especially if you have it. So let's take a look at BOYCO's auto and tourist products a little more closely. I can't say for certain, but just like our other manufacturers from previous videos, Boyle seems to have had his own fascination with the outdoors and recreation. Los Angeles Iron and Steel purchased the defunct mill town of Hobart Mills outside Truckee, California in 1938. Their intent was to turn the old mill site into a resort town, focusing on everything for the outdoor enthusiast. But the site and its buildings burned before the resort could be opened. That, coupled with his early production offerings, seems to cement his interest in providing something useful to those involved in outdoor recreation. Despite Boyle's presumed interest in the outdoors and the many products offered, only one patent exists for those offerings, one filed by Frank E. Anderson in 1937 and assigned to the Boyle Manufacturing Company. It was for a retainer that held the fabric cover in place so that the fabric used in evaporative cooling wouldn't pull free from the canteen. Regardless, BOYCO was responsible for bringing items to market that made travel easier for the common customer, items they advertised as retaining the BOYCO logo, and therefore protecting the customer, while simultaneously reassuring the purchaser that BOYCO was the finest name in materials and craftsmanship, and was synonymous with canteens in a way that Remington was with rifles and Colt was with revolvers. Products such as the BOYCO Easy Adjustable Luggage Carrier, which clamped to the running boards of any automobile and retained sliding bars that were adjustable to 16-inch carving surfaces, and retained straps of heavy trunk webbing. The BOYCO AutoCan, a flat-bottomed, double-seamed, blanket-covered canteen made especially for automobile use. It was advertised as being self-bracing and built to endure. One of my favorites, the BOYCO Tipping Auto Canteen Holder, which was evidently a wonderfully convenient method for holding your canteen to the running board of any car in an absolutely secure fashion, yet allowing it to remain easily accessible, dog not included. The BOYCO service units, number 22, made up of 2-gallon water and gas cans and a holder, and the number 112, made up of 1-gallon water and oil and 2-gallon gas cans with holder. The BOYCO luggage carryall, which was an accordion-style running board luggage rack with 3 clamps and weighed less than 8.5 pounds. The BOYCO Sure Grip luggage carrier that clamped to the running board with 2 adjustable clamps and was suited for 1 suitcase or a small package. And the BOYCO Army Canteen, which evidently differed in construction than its government version, and of course the Indestructo canteens, all of which were made to endure with rough usage. So what ultimately happens to BOYCO? As I mentioned earlier, several mergers and acquisitions later, BOYCO and its parent Boyle Manufacturing became further subsidiaries of U.S. Steel, and by the 1940s was essentially out of the camping market. They remained as a name brand until about 1960, marketing predominantly garden tools and trash cans as their main household steel products. So next time you're looking at a running board rack, luggage carrier, or canteen, check for the BOYCO label. The story is a rather convoluted one, but very typical of corporate consolidations of the period. Thanks for watching this episode of Antique Overland, and please remember to do all the fun YouTube things that help support and grow the channel. See you next time.